This is coffee number 5. I'm your host, Lara Schmoisman. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to coffee number 5. You guys know me. I'm all about branding, all about marketing. But sometimes brands come to me and they need a little help. They need to get fixed. They need to get the brand story correct, the brand colors, the packaging. They need so many things that they need a doctor. And today I want to bring on my really good friend, Anna Allen, that I love to collaborate with because she's a brilliant mind, but also she's a brand doctor. And she is ready, always prepared with her little suitcase of knowledge and ready to help any brand in need. So welcome, Anna.
Hi, Lara. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for the introduction. I love it. Yes, I am the brand doctor. I like to call myself that because it literally describes what I've been doing for the last few years. But I wasn't always a brand doctor.
Yeah, that's what I want to hear. How did you become a brand doctor?
Literally, I came up with that name at one of my presentations. I was speaking in New York last year, and somebody asked, "What do you do?" And at that time, I had about 5 different brands that I was fixing. And I said, "I'm a brand doctor. I'm fixing brands." And it kind of stuck. But I started off in the industry actually as a makeup artist. I live in Vancouver, Canada, which is the second, we call it like the second Hollywood, right? A lot of TV and film. And literally, I was a teenager at the time, and I went on my first movie set, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm home. And it wasn't because of the acting, it was the makeup. Like seeing the makeup trailer with the lights and prosthetics and the glam and building a character, I thought this is so cool. So right away, I went to makeup school. I went to Vancouver Film School, and I worked in TV and film for a bit. But after I realized where my passion was, and it was really cosmetics, I always said to myself, I'm going to have my own makeup line one day, and I want to learn about cosmetics, how to build them. And I actually started working for Chanel. What I learned, it was how to sell cosmetics, not how to build them. But what Chanel also taught me was really the story, the storytelling, the essence of brand.
I mean, how come everyone loves Chanel? I mean, come on,
right?
Look, it's a classic. Look at me. My podcast was inspired by Chanel.
Yes, I love the name of your podcast, by the way. And I'm on my mate number 5. I'm doing a little coffee cleanse. But literally, one thing, I'm a health nut. And one thing that I don't, it's hard for me to not have its coffee. So I'm following you because I love my coffees. I'm always on coffee number 3 by this time. It's about 11 a.m.
So let me ask you, Anna, because how do you fix a brand? Because this is a conversation that we always have, and I think that it will be great to open our conversation to this audience. Is like a lot of people go and start a brand, and I know how hard it is to niche. I mean, as an agency, I specialize in everything that is luxury, beauty, fashion, and wellness, but it took years of specialization. I look at the market all the time. And believe me, when I go to Sephora, I'm not looking at makeup necessarily. I'm looking at packaging. I'm looking so it's really specialization.
Yes. Okay. By the way, I think we would be in Sephora for hours because you and I would probably look at every brand and what they're doing right and wrong.
Not only that, we'll be commenting, yes, for hours. But the thing is, like, when they get to you, it's because already most of the brands went through all the process. And I know how hard it is to tell a brand owner or founder, because founders are very attached to their brand, that why things are not working.
Yes. And to be honest with you, they come to me because it's not working. And the proof is in the pudding. There's no sales, right? The proof is because they realize, okay, I have done something wrong. Why am I not converting? Why am I not building a community? And usually I always say this, we're not only building brands, we're building founders. It starts with the founder, right? Yep. And part of the reason also I call myself a doctor is like doctors are teachers, right? Like if you think about doctors, they're teachers, and I think about, of course, prevention a lot, but sometimes like, how do we do to repair it? And that's really looking at the founders themselves.
And also,
Most of the time,
there are a lot of things. Like I was having this conversation. I was at Nielsen IQ 360, and we were talking. Of course, everyone wants to have sustainable packaging, but at the same time, you need to think about other things, like having a glass package. How will it affect your brand? Fits your brand? It doesn't fit your brand. Also, where are you going to be putting that bottle? If it's going to be in a bathroom, it's a risk that it will break and someone can get hurt if it gets wet. There's so many things and elements that can be affecting your brand.
exactly. And a lot of the knowledge that I bring as the brand doctor is a lot of feedback, right? From experiences, whether I built a lot of brands before and sometimes we failed on things or we succeeded. And that failure or success brings feedback, which brings that knowledge that I can pass on to somebody and say, I can look at their project and say, this is what's going on. I can fix their problem from a bird's eye view because of the experience. I've done it before, right? So I can go back and say, okay, maybe you ordered the product too soon and that you didn't think about the right packaging. And so you didn't have enough time to do the stability and do actually human testing. Like part of what we do when we create a brand is we do feasibility study, making sure that the formula and the packaging, it works, but also humanizing the product. Test the product.
Yeah.
Build a consumer group. Like ask 20 of your friends or neighbors. Try the product, right? And in your
something that I always like to ask is like when you're building a brand is to ask a few people that you feel like your target audience. Like, what are the products that you like quality, but what are the products you like packaging?
Exactly. Right.
So
So
you have an idea of what direction to go.
I think consumer study is so awesome and it's not that hard to do as a
Oh,
brand, right? It's literally just build a little community for yourself, like 20 to 30 consumers, friends, neighbors, and get them in a little study. And I love using even like a type form Google Doc where you send them questionnaire every few days to see how they're experiencing the product because you want that in my experience, when we gathered that info, we had that study and we had it on paper
yeah.
and we had that analysis, which then we build on and we realized the feedback that we would get to shift.
And another things that you need to consider are reviews. If you already have a product and you have reviews, listen to what people are saying because
Such
maybe
a good
the
point.
answers are there why they're not buying.
Such a good point. And actually, another thing too to our reviews, it's like, and gather those reviews, like use a type form to your point. You can use those reviews for your brand when you
Yes,
launch.
yes, you can. Absolutely. But it's really, really important that you listen to your audience and you create that community. At the same time, it's really important that people understand the story behind the brand because there's so many brands out there. So how are you going to differentiate yourself from another brand?
Exactly. And that's what I said earlier. I said we build founders, not just brands. And it's really because, connections convert, right? Remember this. And I learned this from one of my mentors, Amy Jo Martin. I remember when I was building my own brand, Ambari, and I just felt like we were building this great brand, but there was no connection. So I really wanted to understand the connection between like a social media influencer or the connection between like people and social media. So I took her course, which we really taught about how do people connect with influencers. So it's because they connect to them. So connections convert. So then I started thinking about introducing that into branding. Like, how do you connect with your messaging, your founder story, right? Your visuals, even when you're building visual identities for your brand, is like they need to be a deeper connection to a cause or a feeling. So then it will convert.
Other trend that I've been seeing lately is because we live in this digital world and we have so many apps and so many opportunities of doing things. But when people don't realize that everything costing you money. Apps,
Yeah.
services. So when you start the brand, when you need to fix a brand, is what do? You start removing parts and to see what works, or you analyze everything?
I think that strategy is the most important thing for a brand. So we have to look at, okay, not just the founder, like building the founder, educating the founder on running a business, but thinking about the strategy. Was this product built with a strategy? A lot of the times we feel like it falls flat on the strategy part. They just wanted to rush to market with a product and they felt like the marathon was the producing the product, but they don't realize that the marathon is running the business, right?
Exactly.
Because producing a product it's hard, right? It's not an
It's
easy
so
journey.
hard. It's time consuming. It's frustrating. And they always say it's more parts and more parts. You never know when it's going to end. But at the same time, when I'm working right now with a brand and that they're starting from scratch, and my recommendation is start small. Don't try to get all the results. Don't spend your money that. Spend your money in brand awareness. Then when you start making money, you can start getting all the results.
That's why I love private label programs, which you're using the resources of great formulas that chemists have worked so many like years on developing. They have all the testing done because it allows somebody to enter the market faster, cheaper, and spend the resource learning, building community. You're right. Spend your resources in brand awareness. Because what happens is I think founders love being product developers. Okay. Everybody wants my job because they love the creative part. And then once you have the brand, they think, oh, my job is done. I created the product, but it's kind of like having a baby, right? Is the 8 to 10 months, 9 months of incubating,
Yeah, but then the problem is that you have the baby. And then what do?
that's the thing. They're not ready to be parents.
Yes,
We have
and
to educate
this is the
them.
thing. Your kids are gonna age, they're gonna grow, but products have a shelf life.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
you need to make sure that you are ready to launch. So how do you manage the launching part or relaunching that part of a brand that is being fixed?
So this is the challenge, right? So not everybody thinks of like, or they think, okay, brand launching is like an event, a PR event, and then they fall flat. So I think there's a lot of misconception about what a brand launch is. They do this run marathon. It's like producing your product takes so long. Everything has to be timed properly because you have to time the formula and the packaging and the stability. And the secondary, there's so many things that have to be timed properly. And then they're thinking, okay, I'm going to launch, I'll do an event. And then crickets happen after, right? So you have to start thinking. I always say you have to
It's
start.
so funny because you tell me these stories, and for me, which I know they're true because I've been there, done that. But for me, the process is the opposite. So pre-launch, test the waters, make sure that everything works. Like, for example, you never launch a website on a Friday because things can go wrong. And you want to make sure that your team is there to fix it. Don't rush it for months, even if they're
Don't rush it.
very.
Oh my gosh, Lara, I'm so glad everybody is in such a rush. Rush, rush, rush. You guys, the only finish line is you're putting that on yourself. And it's going to cost you more money not to do it properly, which is why you have to bring me in after, than to do it properly from the beginning. So I think don't set these really high expectations on yourself. A lot of brands, I feel like, we need to launch by September. And I said, why? Do you have a place? Did you place an order with a retailer? Oh, no, we just want to launch, right? They're setting themselves these expectations. And nowadays, like before, you always wanted to launch around Christmas, like to like Christmas in July, make sure you launch around
But
July. But nowadays, because the e-com market is so, and we're online, I think there's a lot more flexibility that you can launch at your own pace, but just have that launch strategy. To your
and
point, work
also
with
because
somebody.
you're using technology. Remember that you're using technology, and you need to make sure that everything works.
That's right.
You test every process that you're gonna ship something to. Never ship to a customer before you didn't ship it to yourself. So you have
Okay, that's a good tip. See, write this down, guys. Like, do a test ship.
yes, do a test of everything. If you're using email marketing, make sure that you are the one receiving the email marketing, that the test campaign goes to you. Like, we will never send in the agency an email out there that it wasn't tested internally. We test everything because technology is not perfect.
Right. Right. Exactly. Don't launch on a Friday when we have no support team. And just make sure you have a strategy. Like, work with somebody like you, Lara, that can help them implement a strategy. And sometimes, if you cannot afford PR, and usually we say, you work with a PR, you want to make sure you're being
That,
seen.
that that's something so interesting because a lot of people think that the first thing that they need for their marketing strategy is PR.
That's right. Let's dive into that. Let's
Yes,
dive into
please.
that. Okay. So PR's do's and don'ts. Why do you think people think that they need PR?
Because it's what they think that they're going to give them visibility and
That's right.
authority. And that this ties with another issue that everyone wants to go retail. And we talk about this in so many podcasts already that going retail is expensive too, and your margins are much lower. But so you need to have a strategy. You want to go retail, perfect. But you need to work with a
Yeah,
consultant
exactly.
like Anna that know the game because they're not going to pay you immediately for the products. You're going to have returns. There's so many other issues that they're unknown.
Absolutely. And retail, I always say to my clients, retail is a tool. Retail is a tool which you can use for more credibility, just like your founder story.
Yes, exactly.
But you still need to build your community. Like, I remember my first business where I was literally building my brand with the community. I would teach makeup classes, and I would have about, let's say, 6 classes a day, 10 students a class. And I would mix my own. I was just showing you some of like the lipstick, which I would mix. This is my first brand, and NIB Beauty. And I would mix it because I would listen to what my community is saying. I was able to shift and grow with them. But that was a good baseline. So I look at it as a more organically grow, just like you, Lara. Like, start with yourself and your community. Like, send it out.
PR costs a lot of money, and you have nobody's gonna tell you. And if someone tells you this, I won't trust them. That they will tell you you're gonna get this, this, and that. You're gonna be in Vogue. It's like, okay, someone who tells me that I'm gonna be in Vogue and in Elle and this and that, I will never hire them because you never know. There is no guarantees in PR.
There's no guarantees. Exactly. And there's no guarantees that will convert. What converts, right, is building your community, authentic following, getting those email addresses, right? So subscription,
Yes.
email marketing still works.
SMS. And something very interesting that has been happening in the last few years is that there is a new part of the ecosystem. Let's say there's a new planet that it's called marketplaces.
All right. Okay. Let's talk about that. Yes.
We are talking about so many things that we're going to have to come back to all of them.
No, I love this conversation. It's lighting me up. And that again goes to founders. Like, what kind of founder are you? Are you here for the right reasons? Because if you are a conscious founder and a wise leader, you will do things properly, which is why I always go back to let's build founders.
Exactly.
And let's determine why are you in business, because if you're there just to be in Sephora and be a shelf, have that success story, and behind those success stories went a lot of hard work, right?
Oh my God. And again,
there's no easy way. There's no magic. There's no easy way. You really have to love the industry, right? And if you're a founder that loves it,
not only love the industry, you need to be really rational about your product. You cannot fall in love with your product. You need to know that your product is not going to be good for everyone. And
yes,
you need to find that who is your target audience and who your product works for. And where people will find it. Like I was just saying about marketplaces like Amazon or Walmart, even Sephora is a many marketplace. But there are some people, like, for example, if you are a consumer of Sephora and you like to have the point systems in Sephora, probably you're going to see this ad in social media And then you're going to go remember the name and go and look for it in Sephora. That's the first thing you will do. If you don't find it, either you're going to Google it or look for it in Amazon.
Exactly. So use retail as a tool. I go back to what I call my iceberg metaphor, right, for building brands, because I feel like this helps people visualize it easier. So, the iceberg, people see just the tip of the iceberg and they see it replicated, and all they see is like beautiful branding, like a light founder story. They see retail. But what they don't realize is at the bottom of the iceberg, where it's a lot bigger, all the hard work, all the strategy that went in, right? All the systems, all the build up, right? So for you to replicate that iceberg, you can't just take the tip and put it somewhere else. It's going to fall, right?
Exactly.
You need that foundation.
Oh, I love that you say that word, because that's something that I say all the time. You need a marketing foundation. And that's basically why I created my agency, because I realized that most people were working with freelancers that they meant well, but they don't have a structure, they don't have a foundation, and they don't have a strategy. And without strategy, you're going to be lost. It's like not having a map.
Exactly. So you have to build for scale from the startup, right? Think about scale, your organic growth. And that doesn't just mean retailer. Yes, retailers are a big part of what will help you scale, but that comes on the tip of the iceberg, right? But it's, retailers don't come from the strategy part. You have to really understand who your brand is and think about its long map with the strategy,
Something that I would say is like, for example, first of all, you need to decide your price point and where you want to see your brand. Then when you go to development, you need to see if the price point is real, because you're not really going to know how much is your cost until you finish development, packaging, shipping, and all those things. But what I can tell you is that you can go and decide that you want to be in Nordstrom. So go and look what they sell at Nordstrom and look how you can stand out. Because
I love that.
All the packages are white. First of all, there might be a reason why they're white. So you need to study that. And see if they're white, how can you stand out with the white? If not, how can your packaging be different but still stand out for that target audience?
Exactly. And, you said something so amazing, which we keep forgetting. And even the founders of brands that I work with, they get excited and they want the product to be the best and have the best. And sometimes they forget, well, this is a margins business.
Mm-hmm.
If your margins are not right, first of all, you cannot scale. If you want to be in retailers, you cannot make your margins. So you will not be able to be in retailers, right? So it's important to know also your retailer, who you want to sell to understand their margins so you can build it for you to make enough profit.
Let me tell you a little secret.
I love secrets.
A lot of brands think that being prestige or luxury will give them the best margins and they will make more money. And it's not necessarily true. You can make a lot of money being even in discount stores, like even TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Ross. It's how you position your product and for what market. So what you are creating a product is a solution to a problem or to an audience. So you need to understand where your audience is and what's their price point also.
That will go exactly. That goes on the bottom of that, again, iceberg, right? Is knowing your strategy, right? Yep. Positioning. Because to your point, if you're going to do a mass product and have it even at a discount store, that is your strategy. So you're going to try to get, the best cost of goods. Yeah. So then you can, play with those margins and know how much you will retail. So you have to do the retail exercise. And I see that a lot of the times when you ask me, why do brands fail? They don't have that exercise. They literally created the best product they could, and they never thought about their margins.
A lot of times, also founders think that they are the target audience. They might be, but you are not the only person. So you might have similar needs. So you need to understand a little more. And also, as a founder, something you need to understand that we do a lot of research. I do for as a marketer too when I work with my clients. Like I know so much about the product that I'm not a good measuring system. So I need to go
Exactly.
outside.
Which brings back to our like focus groups, right? These little
Yes.
focus groups can really help open your eyes. A brand that I've been working with is actually a kids brand. Lara, I want you to work with them. I think you'll be perfect.
Oh,
I'm so excited to introduce you because I helped her go to market with this product, and we used all her mommy friends for this, and we use because it's a kids brand. It's basically it's really cool. It's the first clean like zero toxic ingredients that are considered toxic
amazing.
by EWG in this. So we've created a play makeup for kids to play with because she was telling me how her daughter always stole her makeup. And then what really impressed me about this, when she first called me, she had an Excel sheet of 80% moms that said they wanted their kids to play with a clean makeup. So she went to the schools and she actually interviewed moms to say, does your kid play with makeup? And then she had the study. And then would you want a clean alternative? And she'd done the study. So she approached me with already a study. Not just, she didn't come to me, it's like, oh, I want to create a play makeup for my daughter because she likes to play with makeup. Obviously that's what triggered her idea. But she's done the homework. And I said, okay, we need to work together because you've already thought about being a wise founder, right?
Okay. And I'm so glad that you say that because I see a lot of people doing clinical studies, which I think that they are great, but they are not studying before your target audience.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And,
Exactly.
and this is something I always go back, and you guys know about this. I always go back to my deck that you need to do your deck, and all the information needs to be in your deck, in your branding deck, in your communication decks. And
Yeah.
if that's not working, then you go back to the drawing board. I mean, if sometimes you need to really launch a company several times to work. Nobody guarantees you it's going to work in the first time.
I'm gonna bring back that YouTube, which is so cool. The Ordinary was their
Yeah.
11th company they launched to have that success. So sometimes you're right, you have to, and that's the beauty about working with consultants. I have to say is the feedback, right?
Yeah.
That we have, because we've seen companies launch successful, we've seen fail, so we can bring that feedback into your company. So you're learning from the mistakes. You're learning from you're able to avoid, like I always say, I'm jumping in your driver's seat for you, and we'll avoid roadblocks that sometimes you'll get if you're by yourself.
And when I started in this world, we didn't have all the data that we have today. And for example, right now we can see what resonates with people. Like we have a client that we realize that when we use more spicy tone of voice or more bold or daring, we have a lot more opening rates.
Oh, wow. That is so interesting. The tone of voice is huge. And how are you guys testing that? Is it through social
You can
media?
do it social media, A/B testing. There's for emails, for SMS. We have many tools that we can use. But the tone of voice is something so important how you connect to your audience. And also many times you think, and I see this all the time, that they think that their target audience is certain target audience. And this is something that I always recommend. If you never did ads, you start with a broad audience. And then you itself is going to give you that data of who your target audience really is.
Right.
And you can start niching, but you need the data. Or otherwise, you cannot get information who is your target audience. And then if it needs to match with your deck. If it doesn't match with your deck, then we're in trouble. So we need to be really looking at who is our audience.
Exactly. Because sometimes you're right. I see brands start with an ideal audience, but that shifts because of the consumer's desire, right?
Right.
And that's another thing that they could do that exercise, before launch is really, you have to get in the community, right? Like one of the things that we see a lot of makeup artists launch beauty brands, and we see a lot of beauty industry professionals that work for Sephora launch beauty brands is because they have that inside. They know what the customer wants, because even for myself, when I launched my first brand, I knew what the consumer wanted because literally I was talking to them. When I went on to work with another company where I was developing products by working in the office, I felt really disconnected because I wasn't talking to consumers all day long. So then I started going to events, trade shows, learning, podcasts, right?
Yes.
I started merging myself into beauty trends, research, right?
You're talking about my weekend and after hours,
right? Exactly. Well, you have to live and breathe it, and I always tell people I see possibilities everywhere, right? So everywhere there's a consumer. If I'm at a party, I'm doing consumer studies. If I'm working for a brand and let's say I'm going to people probably get
my family know I'm crazy, so I don't have anything to hide. But sometimes I will go like in the middle of, I was in a concert not that long ago with the family, and there was this woman that amazing lipstick. What's a brand? What's a color? I wanted to know everything. And I stopped her, and because I need to understand what people are using and why.
Exactly. Oh, like every day you have a opportunity to interact, and really watch, observe, see. I truly believe in really understanding your consumer. I had the opportunity to speak with the former CEO of Nike. We were on a Zoom call with a women's group, and I had an opportunity to ask a question. And I said, "What is the number one tip for branding?" And he said, "Know your consumer."
Absolutely. And also be consistent. A lot of brands and newer brands think that if something is not working fast enough, we need to change the messaging, or we need to change our looks or our fonts. Be consistent.
I love that. And even I think we can take it to the next level in terms of imagery too. I find that consistency needs to be similar imagery throughout all the social platforms.
Absolutely. Need to be, and the voice. You need to use the tone of voice. It needs to be the same. If someone is talking on Instagram and someone is talking in LinkedIn, it's still the same brand using a different native language, but it's still using, it needs to be the same person. I'm the same person speaking in English and Spanish. Why your brand should be a different person in different platforms?
Exactly. So again, define your voice, define your audience, right? Define your messaging, your visuals.
But I realized that you didn't tell me about your take in PR and when brands are ready to do PR.
So definitely. So I think that some brands are ready for PR. They're built with a solid plan. Like we know Q1, we want to be this retailer, that, and we have the backup funds, right? We have the funds to back up PR. But if you're an indie brand, PR is too soon and too expensive.
100% agree with you.
Yeah.
You shouldn't go there until you have already some community.
Exactly. Some community. And sure, it helps to have the be seen platforms, be as seen in Vogue, as seen in this. Those are trust symbols that consumers still like. However, consumer also likes clean symbols. And, so there's never enough symbols you can have, right? So you have to also have a symbol strategy. What is our symbol strategy, right?
Are we going to important,
right? Because those PR are symbols at the end of the day. They won't convert into sales right away. It's a long-term strategy, right? Because from the time you see it in a magazine, you're not going to go and click it and buy it online. You have to you see it. It's like brand recognition.
Yep.
You read it in Vogue. So you have to build that, again, tip of the iceberg, build that even in PR, build that community, build your foundation. The next level.
Yeah, let me tell you another little secret. When you're working doing your PR, your pitches, your press release, whatever you're doing, those journalists, before they write about you, they will do research about your brand. They will see if you have a following, a community, a once a while deal, all those things. So don't invest in PR until you have all those things.
Exactly. Same as retailers, right? They look at all of that. They look at social media, and I'm not talking about bot followers. We've been there with brands before that backfire because you basically you get hidden, and they want real interaction, and they want realness. So build that community, spend time engaging with people, ask them questions. I find people online, and that's why I love social media and I love to be active on social media, is because for me it's a resource. It's a resource to connect with the community.
Totally. Totally.
So if I was a new brand, I would literally go online, spend like maybe 1 or 2 hours a day, and find people that resonate to my target audience and engage with them and ask them questions, and maybe ask them to send them a sample and get their feedback. And if they like it, they'll post about it. So I think that you have to be ready for a long journey. There's no fast way out.
There is no, this is a marathon, not a sprint. And you need to build your brand with a strong branding, a strong voice, and be consistent and keep going. And give it yourself a time, give it yourself a year. I don't know, but don't give yourself 3 months to be successful, because it doesn't work that way. It's going to take a long time.
Yeah, you're only setting yourself up for disappointment, and that doesn't benefit you as a founder, because you need the energy. You need the energy. And I also talk to founders a lot about a little spirituality. I'm spiritual in terms of my own practices of self-care. As you know, I'm very clean. I eat very clean, and I'm all about clean eating, what I put on my skin and my body, because that gives me the fuel to keep going, even when sometimes we have roadblocks. So I talking about building founders, I always encourage them to really think about their well-being, because you have to be strong for those challenges, right? To set your expectations.
Absolutely. That's so hard, because it's not everything gonna go up and up and up. You're gonna have bumps in the road. And that's something also, plan your budgeting for a long term. Don't think that in 3 months everything will happen immediately, because if you use all your budget in 3 months, you might be out of business.
Exactly. So I hope that you guys listening to this are feeling inspired. Don't give up. We're trying to be realistic, but at the same time, we want to cheerlead you on, because you can do it. We've seen, like, I'm sure, Lara, you've seen so many brands succeed because they had a strategy, they had a blueprint. So I think what we're saying is, treat it as like a marathon. Treat it slow, and don't think of it as a sprint, to your point, right?
Absolutely. And be ready to fall and get up again. And just get up with a smile and try again. It's like you're going to have to kiss a lot of frogs.
I love that. Okay, we're so inspiring.
Yes, we are.
Also, you have us. You have us to work with and learn from us, and have support. I think that it's okay to ask for support and help.
Absolutely. And even something that I say to a lot of people when they come to me, and they're not even ready to work with me, or because they're interested, or they are not in that stage. But it's okay to come and have a consultation and be ready for when they are, and they know what they need, to don't make those basic mistakes. Because many people call me, oh, should I start doing my own website? Don't. Do it right or don't do it.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad to say you said that. Yes, do it right or don't do it. Hold off and do it strategically.
Yeah, because you're going to launch once only, hopefully. And you want to get it right. There's a lot more than building a pretty website. There's so many accessibility issues, and people having legal threats or suits because there is not accessibility enough. There's so many issues out there. If you put a website, you want to have it with SEO and to have the right setup. You just don't want to be winging it, If you spend so much time and effort in creating a brand, don't try to do it yourself.
I love that you said that. That is what a nice takeaway for people to really see the whole picture and just be at ease that, you don't have to rush it.
Absolutely. Like, you don't have to launch, and this is your expertise, but it comes to me a lot of brands. So you don't need to launch a brand with 20 products. You can launch your brand with a little less, and have also a strategy that how we're going to start launching new products.
I love that you said that too. And I think that's a good point. When I do product development, and I feel we talked a bit about this earlier, We mentioned a brand that needs help, needs doctoring from both of us. And it's because, they failed because they didn't have a product roadmap. And now they're feeling a bit stuck. So sometimes you're launching with too many SKUs, and sometimes you're launching with not enough, right? To get into retailers, that's your strategies. One SKU is not enough.
No.
However, I've seen brands launch with one SKU, but they launch with something new after. So even if day one you have one SKU, you should already know what you're launching in 3 months.
You need to have your plan.
You should have your plan and have product already developed. So it's never too soon to have other products develop in the back end, because development takes long, right? It takes anywhere from 8 to 12 months.
Yes. And right to your point, I don't mind brands that they launch with one product if it's their hero product, if it's the one who's going to drive the rest of the line. And it's a great opportunity or to have a kind of a soft launch until you get more products, to make sure that the packaging resonates with your audience, that the ingredients, the messaging, because remember, creating packaging is expensive. Shipping is expensive. Manufacturing is expensive. And all of things, and the minimum quantities orders are normally a lot. So
they're
huge. So you don't want to do it with 5, 10, 20 products. Maybe starting with one is not such a bad idea.
And Laura, this is actually, again, I talk about private label because I think it's a great tool to use in your favor. So let's say you're starting with your hero SKU where you own your formula, you invested time, money, effort, but you want to create newness. This is where you can strategically work with a great private label manufacturer. Okay, there's good ones and there's also great ones and there's amazing ones. Find a good one that has the same quality as your formulas. And that way you can be on top of people's mind, because people like newness, right? When you're doing drops, it's been, proven to be very successful companies that do drops because people love that limited edition or the newness. So you can incorporate that strategy, but it doesn't always have to look like your same formula as the hero SKUs, right? You can use private label to like sprinkle in some newness, but it has to still be on brand. You cannot introduce like a SKU that's totally like off brand. Just because
I love the idea of private labeling, and I know a lot of people that are very successful with that, but you need to make it your own. Don't just slap a sticker on top, and packaging is what is going to sell your product and what is going to make you, mostly if you're doing private labeling, you need to make sure that your branding is striking.
Yeah. And that's why I like the mixing of private label. Use private labels smartly to help you create newness. But I also think having your own formula is what's going to build your brand and also give your brand equity if you ever want to scale up or sell your brand.
Yeah, or having an exit strategy. Absolutely. Anna, thank you so much for being here. I can talk to you for hours, but I always say that my podcast needs to be a car ride, and I think they went a little too far today in this task, or stuck in traffic in LA, which is great. But thank you so much for being here and for all the insights.
Thank you so much for having me, Laura, and I appreciate what you do, and you help so much our industry grow. So thank you.
And to you guys, I'll see you next week with more Coffee Number 5. It was so good to have you here today. See you next time. Catch you on the flip side. Ciao, ciao.